Hi, we're back.
I'm excited for this one because we last conversation said we started to talk about co-regulation and we talked well about how it can really impact the conversation. I really want to explore though a deeper dive because I think this is a fairly new idea for a lot of people. What is co-regulation and why does that matter?
Okay, beautiful, beautiful question. You can think of co-regulation almost as if the two of us were on a train and one train's speeding along and the other one's going at a different pace. And one needs to slow down so that we can sort of look out and communicate with each other through the windows, right? And I brought up last time the idea of a child in the park, because this really takes us through our lives, that a child at the park is curious. And we go through this curiosity all our lives. They wander off, they hurt themselves, let's say, or there's something frightens them. And the adult has two options. Either can say there's nothing to be frightened of, which just invalidates them and they don't feel heard. Or they can say, you can say, come, let's look at this together. Let's hold this together. And the mother's or the father's nervous system will relax on the child's nervous system, and then the parent becomes boring. The child goes off again. And this is how we go in and out through our lives. Where do I feel safe? Because when I feel safe and connected in relationship, that's when I can emerge and become who I am supposed to become. And we're curious and checking safety and taking risks and trusting all through our lives based on that very early attachment that happens in the park. Our parents aren't always able to hold us and give us that sense of.
It's interesting what you're saying, because some of what we're bringing with us, some of the anxiety that shows up when we go to talk to our parents that we have a dynamic with, who ridicule us, hurt us, humiliate us, put us down, don't give us approval, or in some way or another that I might have not detailed, make us feel bad. What we really want is that safety that you've just described so well. We really want that co-regulation. We just don't know that that's what we've been looking for. And the thing is that we can change the relationship not by looking for it from the other, but by bringing it with us and doing it for them. Because the reason they can't give it is because they are so stressed, because they are in their own place, not knowing how to self-regulate in that kind of a way. And if we can gain our regulation skills, we can then bring that to them, and then we can help them. So this is something that comes up when you're caring for elderly parents who get a little bit more cranky, a little bit more reactive, and something that I had to learn over time. My mom, a different relationship, the challenge was more in her kitchen, and she'd get stressed. This would come as a reactive attack. And it's hard not to feel it in some ways, like I did as a child. And I did have to walk out of the kitchen a recent visit just to separate my adult from what I knew was old, like an old wound.
Exactly. And that's beautiful to see that your parent is not actually your adversary.
Yeah.
Your parent does love you.
Yes.
But they're also limited. That's where that self-compassion and loving kindness comes in again. Yes. To be towards them.
So then it's how to go back and respond and bring that. So there are times where I'm not affected. But I probably had a need I was carrying at that moment. And so I can go in, and when I'm not affected, I can just go and look my mom in the eye and just say, so mom, or whatever it is. And I'm using my mom as an example for kind of like my mom, but also like I know a lot of people's moms, like as I'm saying that about a lot of conversations, because this is who I talk to and what I talk about a lot comes in my, but a lot of us are in a place now where we're working with our parents who have anxiety or have something else, and they don't want protection. They don't want support. They want to be autonomous, but yet they have needs. And they might not realize it, but they're looking towards us to meet those needs. And when my mom yells about her kitchen, what she's basically saying is, I'm feeling stressed. Somebody do something to help me feel better. And so when we can step into the need and step into bring a calmness that's different, what really comes up for me talking about that is this is what we do in our house for each other in my family. We know when one person's stressed that that we can be reactive, and sometimes we can't help it. But most of the time, what one of us will then do is be like, okay, this person's stressed. What do you need? Like tell me what's going on, and be there present. I'm here, I'm empathizing. And the empathy is a tremendous antidote to the stress. And then once the stress is down, then you can talk about what's really going on. Then you can talk about the issues.
What you've said is something, sorry.
My mind goes on somewhere else, but you have something to say, go ahead and say.
Yeah, about this particular point, how you said that it was one way in your family of origin and you've changed it your family of presence. And what's so beautiful about that is what bringing something up to consciousness is. It's saying, stop. That didn't work for me. I want to do something different. That doesn't mean that your children aren't going to criticize you and feel criticized by you. But you're bringing up to consciousness what didn't work for you. And you want to say, stop. It doesn't have to continue like that.
Right.
And also, you're recognizing that your husband or your partner, whoever, is also bringing in a different perspective. So, in fact, you haven't recreated, and we sometimes think we have. We've only recreated my family. But you haven't. You've recreated a new family. And some of you bringing in very strong negative emotions from your family of origin that you might want to say.
It's very true what you're saying. And I haven't thought about it quite. It's very meaningful to me, because what I missed the most as a child was just that empathy and presence. I really just wanted someone to sit with me and be in my emotions with me, but I did not know that's what I wanted. I did not know how to ask for that. What I got was, well, Leah, you're too sensitive. You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You think too much about things. You analyze too much. You're very intense about your emotions. I got things that dismissed it, things that made people feel like it was okay, because there was something with me that excused them from being with me.
That's beautiful. There was something in me that excused them.
Yes. And that's what they do. And those messages that we receive are really what other people say to us to free themselves from what they can't respond to. And, if I look back with adult eyes, I'm like, oh, they couldn't, I do feel deeply. And not everyone could handle the emotional intensity in that moment. They had their own emotional things they had to deal with. And to be present with that is not an easy thing and not an easy shift, but it's what I needed and wanted most. But it's not a fair expectation necessarily to have had. But as a child, I have no idea about that. And then I think there's something wrong with me, because that's what everyone says. But what we really want is that. So that is what, and to the criticism of some people watching me, I created in my family. Because some people, and this could be a whole other conversation, it goes against the instinct of controlling your family, of being in control as the parent. Often to have the most control is to not act like you have to have control. Because if you act like you have to have control, that's about you showing that you have control. I control you, you're the child, you can't make me do something just because you're crying. But if I really have control, then my empathy dissipates the crying and the issue. And the child now really cares about what I have to say. My influence goes up, and the child's interest in being pro-social in the family goes up. And then their ability to show up for other people in the family goes up. So there's overall fewer conflicts without having to exercise control in one way or the other. And if there are any coach friends listening to this, I know that they would recognize that this is true in leadership in general, right? This is the leadership pattern.
And Leah, how wonderful for you now, with everything you've just said, to have that opportunity, the empathy, the sitting that you wanted you longed for from your parents. How wonderful for you to tap into it and give it back to them. Because what you wanted is what they couldn't get. It's what they want. That's so much from you. And now we
give it to my parents. So I can really honor that fifth commandment of respecting my parents. But the thing that I've also learned is my parents at a different time in life can also give it to me. And if I'm not coming in with my defenses up, my family is a little different. We don't necessarily come in with defenses when they come up later. But there is a lot of receiving in my family now. And it's a really
that's beautiful. That's, even though that river should always flow down the hill, parents should look after children. Now there's a shifting as you become an adult.
And I think that's the thing. And that's the key. I'm going to pause us here if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Quite a bit, and
Great.
come back to wrap this up in one other conversation.